Northern Spain will go dark for 2 minutes and 18 seconds at 1927 CST on August 12, 2026, while the UK, fewer than 500 miles away, experiences something that looks similar but is scientifically and visually incomparable. Everything that makes a total solar eclipse worth crossing a continent for happens inside a corridor 294 kilometers wide, and most of Europe will be standing just outside it. A shadow 294 kilometers wide will sweep from the Arctic down through Iceland, across northern Spain, and out over the Mediterranean. For the UK and most of Europe, the sun will shrink to a razor-thin crescent hanging low over the western horizon. This is the most significant solar eclipse to cross this part of the world since 1999, and the geometry that makes it happen is stranger and more precise than almost anything else in nature. Here is exactly what is coming, where to be, and why the universe lined this up for us right now. On the evening of Wednesday, August 12, 2026, the moon's shadow will make landfall in Europe. It does not drift gently. The umbra, the inner core of darkness where the sun is completely erased, travels at roughly 2,000 kilometers per hour. It enters Spain from the Atlantic coast of Galicia at around 1927 local time, carves southeast across the peninsula through cities including Bilbao, Valladolid and Zaragoza, then exits over the Balearic Islands into the Mediterranean around 2035. The path of totality is approximately 290 kilometers wide across Spain, wider than the distance from London to Manchester. Anyone standing inside it will watch daylight vanish at midday speed, stars appear in the afternoon sky, and the sun replaced by a black disk ringed in ghostly white fire. That white ring is the solar corona, the outer atmosphere of our star, normally invisible because the sun itself is too bright. Totality is the only moment in nature when you can see it with your own eyes. The British Isles sit just north of the totality corridor, and that gap matters enormously. In total eclipse terms, even a few kilometers outside the path means the difference between a transformed sky and a deep crescent. From London, 91% of the solar disk will be covered by the moon. From Cardiff and Belfast, 93%. From the southwest tip of Ireland, coverage nudges toward 95 or 96%. The sun will hang only about 10 degrees above the western horizon at maximum eclipse from London, which means observers must treat this as a near-sunset event. A clear, open western horizon is not optional. Find a hilltop, a coastline, or an elevated park facing west, and be there before 6:17 p.m. when first contact occurs from London and the moon begins its slow crossing of the solar disk. The last time the UK experienced an eclipse this deep was the partial on March 20th, 2015, and before that, the total of August 1999, which was total from Cornwall and Devon. This is as close as British observers get without boarding a flight. A total solar eclipse is the most improbable coincidence in the solar system. The sun is 400 times wider than the moon, but it is also almost exactly 400 times farther away. That ratio is what allows the moon to appear to fit precisely over the solar disk from Earth's surface. If the moon were even a few percent smaller in apparent size, it would never fully cover the sun, and we would never see the corona. What makes August 12, 2026 especially sharp is orbital timing. The eclipse occurs just 2.2 days after the moon reaches perigee, its closest point to Earth, on August 10th. That proximity makes the moon appear slightly larger in the sky than average, meaning the shadow it casts on Earth is a little wider and the totality corridor is broader. The maximum width of the path globally reaches 294 kilometers. Maximum totality duration peaks at 2 minutes and 18 seconds near Iceland. These are not random numbers. They are the precise output of a gravitational clockwork that has been running without interruption for billions of years, and that clockwork brings this configuration back to the same locations on a predictable cycle. For mainland Europe as a whole, this is the first total solar eclipse since August 1999. But for Spain specifically, the number is even more striking. The Iberian Peninsula has not seen totality since 1905, a gap of 121 years. The shadow entering from Galicia in the northwest and sweeping to the Mediterranean is not just a sky event. It will momentarily cut Spain's solar electricity generation, enough that the national grid operator Red Electrica is already planning load balancing in advance. The Spanish cities inside Totality include A Coruña, Oviedo, Bilbao, Santander, Burgos, Valladolid, Zaragoza and Valencia, as well as Palma on the island of Mallorca. Because the eclipse falls during the golden hour, roughly 1 hour before sunset, the sun will be low and the sky already warming to amber. Observers who position themselves on a hill or coastal bluff with a clear western horizon will see the diamond ring effect, that final flash of sunlight around the lunar limb, happening almost at the horizon. It is a visual combination that will not repeat from Spain for another generation. This is the part that matters if you are staying in Britain. Never look at the partially eclipsed sun without solar eclipse glasses that meet ISO 12312 standard. Standard sunglasses, no matter how dark, transmit thousands of times too much ultraviolet and infrared radiation. Retinal damage is silent and permanent. The only safe window to look without glasses occurs during the brief seconds of total eclipse, and that window does not exist from the UK on August 12th, because the UK never reaches totality. Eclipse glasses must be on at all times. A pinhole projector built from 2 sheets of card is a free, completely safe alternative that projects the crescent sun onto a surface. The best UK viewing locations are open southwest-facing coastlines. Sites like the Cornish coast, Pembrokeshire in Wales, or the Atlantic-facing shores of Donegal in Ireland give both the deep coverage percentages and the unobstructed horizon you need. Arrive early, because the sun will be low and any cloud on the western horizon will block the view entirely. This partial eclipse will also coincide that same evening with the peak of the Perseid meteor shower in a nearly moonless sky. Every total solar eclipse belongs to a family called a Saros series, a repeating cycle of 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours driven by the alignment of 3 lunar periods: the synodic month, the anomalistic month, and the draconic month. The August 12th, 2026 eclipse belongs to Saros 126. When the same Saros cycle returns 18 years later, the geometry repeats almost identically, but the shadow falls roughly 120 degrees west in longitude due to that extra 8 hours of Earth rotation. So the next eclipse from this same series will not revisit Spain. But Europe's streak of major eclipses does not end in 2026. On August 2nd, 2027, a total solar eclipse sweeps from the southern tip of Spain, across northern Africa and into the Middle East, offering longer totality durations than 2026. And on January 26th, 2028, an annular eclipse, where the moon is slightly too far from Earth to fully cover the sun, passes through Portugal and Spain. Europe is entering a rare cluster of solar eclipses within a single decade, a window that will not repeat for a very long time. The universe has scheduled 3 appointments in the same region in less than 3 years. Every person who has stood inside totality describes the same sequence of events, and none of them are prepared for it. In the minutes before the moon fully covers the sun, the light turns wrong. It is still bright, but the color drains. Shadows become unnaturally sharp. Animals stop moving. The temperature drops. Then, in an instant, the sun vanishes. The horizon glows orange in every direction simultaneously, as if it is sunset on all sides at once. The corona spreads outward in delicate silver streamers. Planets become visible in the daytime sky. And then, 2 minutes later, it ends. A bead of sunlight bursts at the lunar limb. The diamond ring ignites, and daylight slams back. People who see this often describe it as the most overwhelming physical experience of their lives. That is what is coming to northern Spain in August 2026. The UK will see something genuinely rare, 91 to 96% of the sun erased. But there is a threshold between a deep partial eclipse and totality, and that threshold is everything. If you can travel to the path, the universe is asking you to be there. On August 12th, 2026, the moon's shadow will carve a 290-kilometer corridor of totality across northern Spain and Iceland, while the UK witnesses the deepest partial eclipse in 27 years. If you want to understand the next sky event that will change how our understanding of the sun itself is being rewritten right now, the James Webb Space Telescope's latest solar corona observations are the subject of the next video.